Without a question. You're a historic racer because you compete and sometimes play a key role in the story. Do you want to race the track or the race? If anything, I've been given a 1964 Ford Falcon. Isn't that the same as sailing on land? Of course, you're right, it does look a little flat. Rowan Atkinson is more than just a star when it comes to comedy. He is living proof that skill and drive can work together to make you successful. It is thought that Atkinson's work as an actor and writer has been very successful, and he is worth more than $150 million, 0 cents. Besides his impressive job, he is also a huge automobile collector. He has gathered a huge collection of cars, including both historical classics and some of the most sought-after models in the history of automobiles. Join us as we look at some of Rowan Atkinson's most beautiful cars. Rowan Atkinson's McLaren is both a spectacular piece of engineering and the most expensive car he has ever owned. But it has an amazing past that you won't believe. Atkinson drove the car more than 41,000 miles while he owned it. Though this was the case, his time with Formula One was not easy. Besides the first time, he crashed the car twice more. He was driving through the streets of England when he had a small accident with the back of another car. He was lucky that he wasn't hurt in this accident. For the second crash, on the other hand, which was worse than the first, you can't say that. Atkinson lost control of his car while driving on a wet road and hit a tree. The impact of the crash was so strong that the engine came loose from the car. He miraculously made it out of the situation alive, even though his shoulder was broken. He couldn't just dodge paying the price for the repairs, though. Putting the parts back together cost a record-breaking $1,400,000, 0 cents. Making it one of the most expensive car fixes ever. Even though Atkinson had kept the F1 for 18 years, he chose to sell it. He was able to sell it at auction in 2015 for an amazing $12 million. Knowing that he bought it for around $800,000, 0 cents, this means that he made about 10 times what he put in. But there's a catch. Atkinson didn't decide to sell the car because of the crashes. Due to all the attention it got, the McLaren F1 went from being a millionaire's car to a billionaire's prize in a very short time. Given that Atkinson is a private person, he couldn't help but sell his most prized possession. The only car in Atkinson's collection that hasn't gone with this trend is the 1993 Mercedes-Benz 500e, which is also known as the W124. Atkinson has sold one-of-a-kind cars in the past and then moved on with his life. At first look, this car might make you think it's a normal sedan, but you would be wrong because it really is an efficiency machine. People have called it a wolf in sheep's clothing. Please be aware that Porsche was involved in the creation of this beautiful car. Since they work together, it shouldn't be a wonder that the 500e has a 5-liter V8 engine with 326 horsepower that can go from 0 to 62 miles per hour in just 5.5 seconds. However, it is not the end of the story. The Mercedes 500e has a unique background because it has been sold at auction twice. The star bought the car for the first time in 1993, but that same year he decided to sell it. Instead of selling the supercar like he had done in the past, he couldn't resist the urge to buy it again in 2017. It surprised everyone when he sold it again, not even a year after buying. He put it up for sale along with a 1989 Lancia Thema 832, which was another one-of-a-kind car from his collection. But this time he changed things. There's also a chance that the way the Lancia Thema or Mercedes 500e looks might not be what it seems to be. At first glance, the 1989 Lancia might look like any other luxury car, but when you look closer, you'll see something truly amazing. A Ferrari-derived 3.0 V8 engine. The next thing that will be talked about is Atkinson's 1986 Aston Martin V8 Zagato. Unlike the Aston Martins that are on the market today, the V8 Zagato was a high-performance car that was made to be used on the tracks. Just like the other rare classics he keeps in his shed, This one has a story all its own. It is important to know that Atkinson bought the Zagato for $670,000, 0 cents. That being said, he wanted it to be a one-of-a-kind race car instead of keeping it as a collector's item. So he gave it to the Aston Martin Work Service so that they could make it run better. For an extra $300,000, 0 cents, the car was rebuilt at that site to be used in races. This brought the total cost of the Zagato as close to $1 million as possible. That's right, the V8 Zagato was one of many of Atkinson's high-performance cars that got into crashes during races. After driving the car for a short time, Atkinson decided to sell it at auction. His plans for the sale did not work out, and he ended up selling it for only $162,000, 0 cents, even though he had spent over $292,000, 0 cents, on improvements. But Atkinson wasn't the last person who experienced the thrill of the car. Nicholas Mee and his team worked on the car after it had been sold from one owner to another. They changed its layout from one that was designed for the track to one that was designed for the road. These changes were made, and then the car was taken off the racing track and sold for $335,000, 0 cents. The Ford Falcon Sprint that Atkinson raced is a famous car with a long and well-known history of winning races. The Falcon Sprint was a version of the normal Falcon that was designed to be faster. Most cars have a 2.4-liter inline-six engine, but this one had a 4.7-liter V8 engine. The change gave it more speed, making it one of the most exciting muscle cars of the 1960S. It's important to remember that the first Ford Mustang, which came out in 1964, was based on the Ford Falcon Sprint. Around 2006, Atkinson started his journey with the Sprint. Since then, he's raced it in a number of different events, pushing its limits to the fullest. Yes, he also messed this up, so before you ask, the answer is yes. Things that led to this happened in 2014 at the Goodwood Revival Shelby Cup race. At some point during the race, he was in a crash that was head-on and could have been very dangerous. The damage wasn't too bad, and thankfully neither Atkinson nor the Falcon Sprint were seriously hurt in the crash. The car had been owned by Atkinson for 15 years before he decided to sell it. He sold the Falcon Sprint at Silverstone auctions for a total of $77,000, 0 cents over the course of 2021. Perhaps the only cars that people think of when they hear about Rowan Atkinson's collection are high-end European cars. However, one of Atkinson's most prized possessions is a car that many people may not expect, a Honda NSX. Atkinson sells a more powerful version of the NSX with a 3LV6 engine that makes 252 horsepower and can go as fast as 168 miles per hour. At first glance, those numbers might not seem very impressive when compared to the performance of modern supercars, but the NSX was a big deal in the 1990S. One of the many gems that can be found in Atkinson's garage is the Rolls-Royce Phantom drophead, which holds a special place in his heart. People who like Atkinson and have seen Johnny English Reborn might know this masterpiece with wheels that are perfectly in sync and an ocean blue color. The 2011 model is exceptional not only because of its good looks, but also because of the parts that are inside its engine. The Phantom by Atkinson is a rare 9, and it has it. 0 liters of V16. It was said that the actor spent more than $500,000, 0 cents, on this Phantom, even though the normal Phantom drophead has a 605-liter Volkswagen V12 engine. The most interesting thing about the situation, though, is that he asked Rolls-Royce to put in an experimental V16 engine that would only be used in Johnny English Reborn. Also, it's hard to understand how they were able to make 3 or 4 of these engines, test them, and find that they had power and torque numbers that were nothing short of amazing. So I got in touch with Rolls-Royce and asked if it would be possible to put one of their V16 engines in the front of our Johnny English Phantom. Are you okay with the idea? The next car to be shown is the Mercedes-Benz Benz Phantom GTT. At the same time that it is a beautiful car, this red beauty is also a high-performance machine that was made to go fast. The gull-wing doors that have become a trademark of the AMG are not the only thing that makes it unique. It comes with a 6.2-liter V8 engine that makes 583 horsepower. This engine is so strong that it can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.5 seconds. Atkinson is a big fan of cars, and not just because they work wonderfully. He has a lot of racing cars, which shows that he became interested in cars at a young age and then turned it into a hobby. There were 2 seasons that he raced in the Renault 5 Turbo 1 Make series. He also took part in the Goodwood Revival in 2013 with his Jaguar Mark 7, and he raced at the Le Mans Festival in 2012 with his Aston Martin Vantage D4. To his credit, he doesn't buy cars just to show them off. It makes him happy to take them out on the road and see how far they can go. For him, cars are more than just expensive things. They're about the thrill, the power, and the pleasure that come from driving them.